Tonight, comedy and improv legends COLIN, MOCHRIE, and Deb McGrath talking Second City, Whose Line, SCTV, Bizarre, Ryan Stiles, Judy, Garland, Daisy Duke, Improv Under Hypnosis, and COLIN's adventures in the Forbidden Zone. It's Up All Night with Bob. It's fun. It's free. Come on, subscribe. Folks, my very special guests tonight are two legendary performers who, in addition to a long legacy of sketch and improvisational work dating back to Second City in the 1980s, have collectively amassed hundreds of film, television, and stage appearances, including, but not limited to, SCTV, Kids in the Hall, Air Farce, Baroness von Sketch, Degrassi, My Talk Show, The Ron James Show, The Tonight Show, Almost Heroes, Little Moss, Getting Along Famously, Last One Laughing Canada, and of course, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Please welcome Canada's answer to Burns and Allen, Sonny and Sharon, What the Hell, Sheilds and Yarnell. It's Ms. Deborah McGrath and Mr. COLIN, MOCHRIE. How are you, folks?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. I'm delighted, and I'm great, and I'm delighted to see both of you. You've made it through the last couple of years reasonably unscathed, I understand.
Unscathed.
Yeah,
yes.
still getting along, much more than Sheilds and Yarnell.
Yeah. Did they have an unamicable split?
Hey, I think he ended up with one of the woman from Daisy Duke.
Oh, you're kidding! Was that Barbara Bach? No.
It's Catherine Bach, I think.
Oh, Catherine Bach. Well, Barbara Bach married
Ringo Starr.
Ringo Starr.
Yeah. And they're still married.
Oh, they're still together. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm rather implying there that, you know, you're a comedy team, and I know you have performed together. Was there ever a time when you were first starting out when you ever thought of like full on going like the Nichols and May route?
I don't think so, because when we first got together, Deb was working all the time, and she didn't want me crowding her.
No.
No, we always agreed that whoever had the career at that moment in time that was king or queen, that the other one would be the support. And I got pregnant soon after we got married. So, and then Colin's career took off, and it, I think, worked out the way it was meant to.
We also auditioned a lot together as husband and wife,
right?
And we never got it. One of us would get it.
One of us would get it with someone.
Oh, yeah. Well, to save the marriage, then probably a good.
But we toured a lot together. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you must have appeared on the Second City stage on the tours, yes?
No, we do it now, really.
Yeah.
We do, we have Colin and Deb's One Couple Show, and we do it around the country, lots and corporates, you know the
right,
deal.
Sure.
For COVID. And then we did a few of them on Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom shows too. Yeah.
We met. I mean, we met at Deb hired me for Second City. That's how we before
me too.
Yeah.
I was able to hire him up.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I mean, anybody look at Wikipedia knows that you guys. So you met at Second City. You were in the tour at Expo '86, Colin, and Deb was directing that show. Do I have that right?
Nope.
Oh, there you go.
No, you have none of that right. But there is a connection. Ryan Stiles, a very good friend of mine, had been hired. Ryan and I auditioned together for the Expo company. He got it. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then because, he's so good, they hired him for the main stage back in Toronto. And I had moved out to Toronto, I guess, a couple of months later, and he called him up and said, hey, there's an opening in the touring company. Why don't you try out for it? So that's where I met this one.
Because I had finished my stint as an actor on main stage, and then they will often hire alum to direct the touring company because it's a part-time gig, and that's how I met his fine self.
Oh, now, how much do you remember of the actual meeting, and was it seeing one or the other on stage and being funny and thinking, oh, gee, there's something, or was it just what happened there? Do you remember? How much do you remember?
I remember. The first time I saw Deb, she was still on the main stage. I grew up in Vancouver, and I was touring with a children's show, and a couple of our friends worked as waitresses at Second City. They said, "Oh, you should come see the show." So I saw Deb, and there was she's funny and, very attractive. But that was it.
And I was in the show with Robin Williams, so I think it bodes well that he remembered me.
Yeah.
That's true.
His marriage to Robin Williams lasted what, maybe 6 weeks?
It was a
Just till
mistake.
intermission, really.
Yeah.
And then when I auditioned for Deb, okay, I know you're turning away, but this happened. It's a grueling audition. You start with
Context is everything.
You start with 20 people, and then you go down, and then you go down, and that was like 5 of us. So we audition, and then Deb comes up and goes, "You've got the part. It was between you and the cute guy."
Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, I'm a nice person. I can't even imagine I would ever say
I don't
that.
even know why. I know it seems so out of character
It's so
for
not
you.
something I would say. I go out of my way to make everyone feel you were great, and it just wasn't. I don't know if I was making a joke or I was nervous because I thought he was lovely.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Well, who was the cute guy?
Don't remember, and he auditioned the second time and he stunk.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Looks only take you so far.
And he was traditionally cute. He was cute. This guy was like, I don't know, like pretty boy cute. You weren't pretty boy cute.
No,
You
I've
didn't
never
wanna
been pretty
be.
boy. No, I wouldn't
No.
want to be.
So I want to jump around a little bit. We obviously, you guys have done so much stuff. There's no way to kind of touch on everything, but I want to kind of move through the timeline just a little bit. But before we do that, right near the top here, I want to give you, Colin, an opportunity to just talk about the new show you're doing. The thing you're touring right now with the Hipprov, because this is fascinating to me, and I'd love to hear more about this. This is hypnotism and improv comedy together at last.
Yeah. Master hypnotist, Asad Mecci, was taking improv classes at Second City. And he realized what the instructors were telling the students to get out of their head is what he does when he hypnotizes people. And so he thought, I wonder if I can combine them. So he contacted me and we had a meeting, and then we thought, yeah, we'll try it. So that was 2016. And now we're going to Off-Broadway starting in August for, maybe a limited run. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
But it's really, it's been fascinating. We've taken these two art forms that people are very skeptical about and mixed them together and tried to make it, okay, we're going to prove to you there is, every night as I watch Asad put 20 people under, I think, how is this going to work? And I had so many misconceptions about hypnosis. I thought, they'll never remember anything, but they're aware of everything. And what happens is when you're hypnotized, the part of your brain that deals with self-criticism is gone. So you're not worried about making a fool of yourself. You just do whatever Asad and I ask, and we have these amazing improvisers who are true improvisers.
And what did one guy say? You're not making me do something I don't want to do. Everything you say sounds like the best idea ever. So they just do.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate yes and.
Right. How much did you know about hypnotism before this? Have either of you ever been hypnotized?
Well, I almost got accidentally hypnotized at their show, and I couldn't even see Asad. I could just see the back of his head. But I'm listening, and I'm drawn to it. And our daughter goes, "Mom, are you all right, Mom?" And she went, "You were going under," and I was going under. I was totally going under, and I could only see. But I'll tell you something about this show. You go with a preconceived idea, improv, and you cannot look away. It is so compelling. I can't explain it. It's quite awesome.
Yeah, because it looks like they're sleeping on stage. And so I thought they're in some sort of holding pattern, but they're aware the entire time. So I'll be doing a scene with someone, and they'll reference something from a scene like 2 scenes ago that they weren't in. But they just soak everything that's happened during the show. I don't know how to describe it, except it's the most fun I think I've been having lately with improv.
And have you ever been under as a part of the show or no?
No. We keep talking about it because when we get interviewed, people say, has he hypnotized you? And I think, you know what? I said yes to this fairly quickly. So as far as I know, he hasn't hypnotized me, but I don't know.
Yeah, you never know how that first meeting went.
Yeah.
So off-Broadway, do you know the theater it's going to be playing at in
It's
come
at
August?
the Darryl Roth Theater.
Darryl Roth Theater coming this
Union
August.
Square.
Yeah.
And I think it goes till Christmas almost, right? Yeah.
I want to jump way back for just a second and talk about early gigs. I say it kind of stilted like that because I'm thinking about turning this into a segment called Early Gigs, and then I'll have a little graphic, but I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet. Let's go. Let's pretend I do have a Early Gigs. Okay.
No, I like it.
Now, I was going to talk. I have to ask you about your appearance on SCTV because you happen to have been in one of my all-time truly favorite sketches on that show, and I know it's 1,000 years ago, but just before we get there, because here's something I hadn't realized until yesterday, that you were on John Byner's Bizarre.
Yeah, I was a recurring character. I always played his wife. And here's the thing, because it turned out, overheard by me and some of my peers, including Jane Eastwood, Kathy Lasky, we overheard there was a woman on there playing a girlfriend, and she was very upset because her lines were greatly reduced when she actually got, so she was freaking. So she sat back down in the circle of us and said, loudly enough that those of us who were the wives, and looking pretty good, we were in our early 30s, said, well, Bob explained to me that that I'm young and pretty and I play the girlfriend and the plain women play the wives. The plain women in front of us.
Come on now. Well, as I recall, the women who were the, shall we say, models on that show were usually topless at some point.
They were.
But this is my question, because, so if you've ever, all right, so Bizarre, first of all, shot out near where I grew up at the old CFTO studios in Scarborough, Ontario, yes?
I was Scarborough too.
Oh, you were Scarborough as well. Right. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's right. We're all from. I always forget. Yeah, Bruce and all the all the important people from Scarborough. Sorry, Colin. I know you're from Scotland.
That's all right.
But what are your memories of that? Because so the show aired here in Canada on a broadcast network, CTV, but in the U.S., I believe it was on HBO or Showtime or Cinemax or something where you could show nudity. So that nudity, was that presumably real?
Yes, they did stars, I think, or some kind of, yes, it was real. And
hiding nipples?
Hiding nipples.
The most offensive part of the breast.
And then this one day, this young girl thought she'd get her union card by doing this and chickened out. And I won't go into too much detail, bawling her eyes out, left the set, and they chased her down and told her she was under... Should I be telling this story? Yeah.
Well, it's too late now.
I mean, well, I was going to say they're all dead, but they're not. Byner's still with us. But
Byner, I will tell you this about Byner. Such a lovely human being. He was
that's great to hear.
Delight to work with, and was so thrilled with everybody that came on. I mean, Don Lake was on it, and of course the late, great... Canadian guy. He was always the host. Tom Harvey. Remember Tom Harvey?
Tom Harvey, sure.
Wonderful Tom Harvey. And a lot of great people on it. And John was just always in a good mood, delighted, easily directed, knew everyone's names, just what you would hope he would.
Right. Oh, that's great. But so now after that, in 1983, this is what I referenced a minute ago. So when SCTV was in its final season, again, it was on Cinemax at the time, and you were in a sketch called Maudlin O' the Night.
Yes.
Which was where the Sammy Maudlin show there's a wonderful, for fans of SCTV, the idea of the show was that Sammy at one point had a sidekick played by John Candy, William B. Williams. And John Candy, of course, had left the show at that point. So Sammy's trying to revamp himself, and to replace John Candy, he brings in the Maudlin Zanies. And your bit was, men are afraid of me because I'm funny. And you don't have jokes, but that's the joke, right?
Just bitter.
Just kind of bitter, yeah. I mean, the whole idea was that this episode of the Sammy Maudlin show was a train wreck. And then, of course, Martin Short was essentially playing a not very kind impression of a young Howie Mandel.
Well, we decided to get rid of William B. We threw them right out, and we brought in a whole new bunch of regulars. And those people are the modeling zanies, and I'm going to introduce them to you right now. Come on out!
The only thing that mortifies me, and I can't even look at that scene, is because I was given my character name, Fran Lebowitz. Character name, didn't know who she was. So I, who pride myself on being a bit of a mimic, was just, and they didn't tell me. I think they didn't really think I said, oh, and what's she like? Well, like she's, dry and blah.
Okay, let me bring out my next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than the lady that was in Flashdance.
Flashdance? I auditioned for that movie. You know why I didn't get the part? Because men can't handle chicks like me. Because I'm funny. You know what I'm saying? I'm funny, and men can't handle it. I'm funny.
And then somebody said, oh, did they not want you to do an impersonation? I went, of who? Oh my God, I was just so embarrassed.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't know if it's going to make it easier for you to go back and look at it again. But I love that sketch, and everybody has. And now, Colin, you were in a similarly a classic production that year. And I know you've been asked about this before, but God help me, I have to ask you because I went and saw it in the theater. Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
Why did you see it in a theater?
There was not a 3D movie that I would not see at that time. And that year came out Space Hunter in the Forbidden Zone, a film called Treasure of the Four Crowns. Okay. This was really lousy 3D, by the way, for those who who grew up in the era of, later.
Did you have I went to see it. I had a headache within 10 minutes.
Yes.
From the 3D.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was also directed by a man with one eye, which I thought was a perfect choice for a 3D movie.
Perfect choice. That is wild. But you had a line. You actually got, so you were an extra, but you eventually got a line, and so that turned into your first credit. Is that right? Yeah.
I was, I guess it was around 21. And I had quite a baby face, but I was in kind of, in cyborg kind of makeup because I was part of the villain's elite guard. And the villain, his name was Overdog. Just totally opposite to an underdog, you see? So the one-eyed director said, I need a guy to capture Molly Ringwald. So there was two of us standing there. He said, okay, each of you say this line. We said it. And he went, yeah, you're scarier. Pointing at me. And I went, yeah, okay. So that was my first. I got to capture Molly Ringwald and say the immortal line, you can ask the chemist.
You can ask the chemist.
No. My favorite showbiz story is from that movie. Because it was still... Film production was still pretty new in Vancouver at that point. We were filming in some warehouse that was just constantly in 3 inches of water.
Oh my God.
So they always had to bring stuff up from LA. So there was this one scene where they're supposed to get attacked by bat people. So Vancouver didn't have access to bat costumes, so they had to send to down to LA. And you know how these things happen where you think, I can't believe that I was there at this particular moment. So all these boxes, giant crates come in, and I'm standing with a bunch of extras, and the director's there, opens up the crates, and it's 3 crates of fat suits. You watch the movie, they go into a cave, there's fat people hanging upside down that attacked them. They sort of melted them a little so they looked a little mutanty, but they were hoping this was going to be the next Star Wars. I think they actually had a trilogy planned.
Oh, really?
For the Peter Strauss, Molly Ringwald being intergalactic bounty hunters, but yeah.
Let's move up all the way to 1989 because I want to talk about 2 shows that you've both been involved in, one more than the other, which I think, as far as I know, do not have a streaming home anywhere, and I believe should. The first one I want to talk about is My Talk Show from 1989. Here's a show that was well-reviewed, well received, I think, by audiences, syndicated for on a good chunk of stations. Didn't last long, and unfortunately has kind of fallen out of memory because it just doesn't exist anymore. Tell me just a little bit about my talk show, though, Deborah, because I love
this. Could be a whole mini-series.
It could,
Yeah.
but I'll be brief.
Yeah, you can tell me the short version if you like, but I'm just curious.
So it was through Second City, and Linda Kash and I worked together on it, and Dana Anderson, Bob Durkach, Bruce Pirrie, writing Sandra Balkovsky.
One of my later bosses, Michael Patrick King, was on that show.
Yes, well, Michael Patrick King at a point was brought on to write for me because he was known to write well for women, which we know turns out to be very true.
Sure.
So, but at the beginning, we did a pilot, and we had 3 pilot guests, Little Richard.
Where is Little Richard? Well, actually, he's in the green room. Do you want to see? Yeah. Ross.
I can't believe it. You have Little Richard in your own bedroom.
Tina.
The green room. Tell the story of how you met him.
Well, you know, I went to see him in concert. To ask him to be on the show. Anyway, I was trying to get his attention, so I threw my panties on stage, and then I went back to his dressing room and said, Little Richard, I have to have those panties back. They're my Wednesday panties. Because, you know, you can't go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Why not?
Well, because you can't, Jane. Anyway.
So then they decided, as oft happens, to ruin it. They said, we cannot possibly have a lead woman who is mean to the guests. No one does that. We like this character, but she's got to come in and out. Cut to Buffalo Bill and Roseanne within 6 months. However, she's got to come in and out, and she can be mean and sarcastic, but we have to have a sweetheart of a gal, and they certainly got that in the loveliest Cynthia. Well, by the time it happened, by the time it came along, I was great with child, and I didn't care really if it went. They ruined it. And a lot of the stations were saying, where's the show we bought?
Oh, I see.
It was sort of grassroots, which was sort of, you know, just more Andy of Mayberry kind of style.
They started doing a very special My Talk Show, which
Where
just
it got dramatic and
just didn't
like talking about sincere things, and it's laughs, it's stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway, we went on to do 65 episodes, and then Cynthia, partway through, to her credit, and absolutely right, you're not letting me be funny. She had just had that great stint on Cheers, did 3 episodes as Norm's girlfriend.
A woman who was kind of obsessed with Norm Peterson.
Yes, and charming beyond charming. And they turned her into and our next guest is, they had a good thing going, and they turned it into a hybrid of I don't know what.
Yeah. It's
being backstage was fascinating because I felt like I was like an innocent child, like people throwing scripts across, locking themselves in their dressing room. Somebody from higher up had put a spy in the writer's room, so everybody was suspicious of each other.
They truly did.
It was
you're kidding.
And this will seem so funny to you, because my name, of course, is Deborah, and the spy's name was DEBRA.
Who was she spying on behalf of?
We don't know.
Well, it's interesting, you know, because the stuff of the show that survived, at least on YouTube, is probably some of that earliest stuff. It had a kind of a Fernwood Tonight vibe to it, yeah? Initially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, Martin Mull came on and he went, I said, oh, it's such an honor to have you on. And hilariously, he said, well, I thought I might as well. You stole my idea.
Yeah.
And fair enough, right? You are.
Fair enough, but you know, there's a looseness to it. And what I kind of liked about it was so many. This is true, I think, of every talk show and every sitcom and everything today. It had a kind of a live to tape feel to it. whether or not that was accurate or whether the editing was just well hidden. But I kind of miss that looseness because I feel like when you watch a lot of older sitcoms, you get a sense sometimes of the kind of proceeding. You feel like you're watching a scene play out in real time. And there's, even with the occasional awkward pause or little dead spot, it feels like you're watching a show.
I never understood on like sitcoms or whatever shows that you weren't allowed to make a mistake. When if you flubbed a line or you stumbled a little bit, they would do a new take. And I always thought, well, it's kind of more interesting with the flubs in there. It's like more, as you say, there's more of a flow and you don't know what's going to happen next.
So I loved this show, Getting Along Famously, where you played I'm going to say early 1960s kind of variety show hosts couple, a double act who hosted a show.
Yeah, we were big Dick Van Dyke.
Sure.
We were big variety show fans. Carol Burnett and others, and we thought, oh, this will be a no-brainer. We're doing it in Canada. It's about the CBC in the 60s.
Yeah.
We're playing sort of the Canadian version of Burton and Taylor. We had Patrick McKenna was in it. We had a great cast.
Donna Fior choreographing, and Greg Morrison and Lisa Lambert doing the music and lyrics, who went on to win a Tony for The Drowsy Chaperone.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we wrote a pilot, and then we went to George Anthony and said, we have this idea. And like in 10 minutes, he went, all right, we'll do that. We'll film the pilot. And I thought, this was sort of our first thing that we sort of pitched. And I thought, wow, I don't understand why people complain how hard it is in show business.
I was going to say, this has never happened to me.
I know, and we walked out and went, so what did that mean? Like, what did he mean?
And that was the last good time we had.
Yeah, exactly.
Until we did the show.
But no, we also wanted to pay tribute to the great, our pet Juliette, who was the great singing diva, who through that we got to know. And she used to tell us great stories about if the hockey game went over, her variety show would go down to 15 minutes, which was so Canadian. And so we were playing Ruby Kendall and Kip Delaney. And we had Wayne Brady came on playing a version of
Harry
Belafonte.
Yeah.
And we based most of our stories on the Judy Garland variety show because it was a shit show and she was treated like crap. We did one episode where Pat McKenna's character Littleman makes me wear a fake rear end because people are saying my rear end is flat, which they did to Judy Garland, made her strap on a rear end.
Oh, you're kidding. I did not know that.
And on her show, this is more famous, you probably know this, on her show, it wasn't Harry Belafonte, or was it? Yeah, Harry Belafonte came on and the network said, you cannot touch him, you can't hug, you have to be apart. So when Wayne came on, the song they wrote for us was a calypso, touching my hand. And we did this calypso number about touching, and our producer is saying, no, you can't touch. And we end up hugging at the end.
Right.
So they were all based on things that happened to poor, incredibly talented Judy.